Okay, so in my last video, I said that uh, realistically, Blender, which I've been using for 20 years, would probably fold into my workflow with this anime stuff. And so, just for fun, I downloaded I downloaded the GeForce update because my computer, this is a 12-core Intel chip machine, really fast machine. I've used it to edit and produce several films. Um, but Blender 2.8 has been rather hit and miss. So anyway, I finally got around to upgrading um, the NVidia drivers. And oh my goodness, now Blender 2.8 runs. So I'm going to show you, probably if you're following me, you probably already know most of this. But basically, the two killer things for me on with Blender 2.8, which are really cool, is the EVEE renderer, because as you can see, what the quality of imagery that you can get in real time, just driven by the the NVIDIA chipset, doing real-time rendering, is just astounding. So I'm just gonna. What I did was I downloaded, and several of them you can see are 0 here. They're not done downloading, but like this, for example, you just pull this up, and if you're like me and you've sort of witnessed the history of computer graphics, you really find this absolutely astounding. I mean, the quality of what we can do in real time is off the chart. Geez, I can remember back in '98, somebody created a dedicated hardware ray tracing device for 3D Studio Max. I can't remember what it was called right now, but it was selling for about $5,000, I think, 5 to 10. Was this standalone renderer, and you'd think back then, you'd be like, wow, man, is this like giving you real-time rendering? Well, what it turned out is it really didn't. What it did was, if your scene was ray tracing heavy with a lot of reflections and stuff, then it would render ray tracing about as fast as the built-in scanline renderer in 3D Studio Max. So it's like, it's cool, but it's not, $5,000 to $10,000 cool. But look at that glow effect, and gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zip through. I probably should say, if you want to know where to go and what to do, just go to blender.org and download the beta. And then on this page, hello? On this page, okay, let's drag this down here. Blender.org/2-8. If you go down to the bottom of the page, each of these are actual demo. They're basically showing off the feature set. So I'm gonna go ahead and just open a couple of these to kind of show you how super cool this is. Tree Creature, that's the one I wanted to open. It's not done downloading yet, but these are fairly large files. 350 megabytes for that one called Temple. So, but it's just about done. But I am happy to discover that with the drivers upgraded, as you can see, Blender 2.8 is running fine. And as you can see, EVEE sort of loading up, and I assume probably caching the parameters of these materials. Boy, the ability to do this is just remarkable. And I'm sure if you... Okay, hold on. Control up arrow. Okay, control up arrow. This is why I've got to spend some time with Blender 2.8, because the old shortcuts don't work. Not at all. For example, I think it was a good choice to make animating the spacebar. It used to be Alt-A. So personally, I think that's a great idea, but I got to get used to it because that's not what I'm used to at all. So, pretty remarkable. Real-time rendering, right? Okay, so let's see. another one. We already looked at the wasp bot. It looks like the tree creature is done downloading, so let's just take a look at that one. The stills look incredible, but you know, here we are. We're in a time where you don't have to render in the sense of having to wait, you know, from minutes to hours to create really great looking graphics. Now, how is that helpful for an anime? Frankly, not much. But I definitely plan to acquaint myself with Blender 2.5 because, as I said in my last video, there's no doubt at all that see, you can see it kind of loading up here. There's no doubt that integrating 3D into my workflow is definitely going to happen. And obviously, when I started working on this anime almost a year ago, and just figuring out the workflow, figuring out how are we going to do this, Blender 2.8 wouldn't run at all. And you know, I kind of found out the hard way that the Blender grease pencil wasn't really ready for prime time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the, let's come back here and hit the space bar and see if there's any animation here. Okay. So that's not bad. It looks like they've actually got depth of field and motion blur baked in. So that's interesting. Now I'm going to hit the 1 key to just change my point of view. Zoom out a little bit. So obviously I don't know about other GeForce chipsets. I mean, we're talking about a video card here that is at least, geez, 5 years old. I'm looking at it actually right now. I can see through the box. This is a TX 660 Ti is what it looks like. So, you know, is the 660 chipset, is it like ancient? If I was let's go ahead and stop the animation so we can sort of, yeah, the dolly around. Okay, so would it be worth looking at getting a newer video card in order to, you know, I would assume so, but you know, this is incredible. So I don't want to waste too much time on this. I'm going to give it up to 10 minutes, so let's just kind of go through. Let's open Temple. I haven't looked at that one yet. And then after we kind of look at these demo files, I'll show you what the other, you know, the aspect of Blender 2.8 that will be beneficial for 2D animation, which you, as I said, you probably already know. Okay. Yeah, see, what I was saying about the hotkeys is I mouse over this box, I want to go control up arrow and have it maximize, and it doesn't. So now I'm like, I have no idea, literally not a clue how to maximize the windows. For 20 years, control up arrow has been what you do. So a lot of things have changed. So yeah, you can come in here and you can see all the, I think it'll be a lot of fun actually to play with the compositing and see how the node-based compositing has been improved, and maybe, you know, trying to keep up with and maybe surpass what's going on with other applications like Natron, or other ones that are free, like Fusion. You know, Fusion's a great compositing application. If you're looking for that and weren't aware of it, just go to the website for Blackmagic Design. You know, they make the Blackmagic Cinema and Pocket cameras, which are basically cameras that shoot RAW in the $1,000 to $2,000 range. You know, quite a lot of capability for the price. Blackmagic's been very disruptive in the indie filmmaker hardware space. But one of the things they've done that's, as I say, disruptive is they've made Fusion, which used to be Ion Fusion, is now Blackmagic Fusion. They've made that, you know, that's a world-class compositing application. It's free. And I can't remember the name of the editor that they have. Every time I've tried to run it, it blows up. But I suspect really probably what we want to do editing-wise can be done right here in Blender now. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the space bar and see if there's any animation here that's interesting. So yeah, once it's actually, I find it kind of interesting that, okay, so I'm going to hit stop. It really makes you wonder because Okay, I want to stick with the camera view, but when I zoom in slowly this way, it's completely real time, but when I hit the space bar, it's not real time. So I'm curious why that is, since it's not actually doing a render per se. So that's something to think about. But anyway, let's keep moving here. And we just crossed the 10-minute mark. Let's see. Alright, I'll go through these quick. And if you think it's cool, then you can download them as well and see if they work well in your machine. Okay. Looks great. Let's try Mr. Elephant. What is Mr. Elephant? Mr. Elephant, load up, Mr. Elephant. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is more of a more cartoony. And it's a little choppier while it's sort of figuring out all those materials. But I mean, look at those materials. Holy cow. It's going to take me a year just to wrap my head around the node-based material editor, because I never did, with Blender 2.79 and earlier, the cycles renderer, I never did learn how to do node-based materials. Never needed to. So I'm hitting the anime player here, and it appears that nothing's happening. So I don't know if there's no animation baked. Oh wait, there's some notes. Turn volumetrics on if you can afford slower drawing times. Right now it has 150 samples. Going in and out of edit mode is slow for some models because all the modifiers are applied. So if I grab this and hit tab, subsurface scattering volume, disable only render if you want to select objects. Oh, okay. Where is only render? Disable only render. And see, that's the problem with this, is I don't know where that is. Only render. So I'm not going to waste everybody's time trying to figure it out. Let's just keep moving forward here. Did I already do the forest? I can't remember. What I can say for sure is that, yeah, I did this. This is the first one I had open. Is that as a creative guy, I really, there's a lot to have fun with here in Blender 2.8, no question about it. But it's literally learning a completely new application from scratch for all practical purposes. Now, my brother-in-law, who works in furniture design and whatnot and that sort of thing for the last 20 years, I'm sure he would find this interesting. I don't know if he's actually doing this kind of stuff anymore. I know he does a lot of surface design using, well, he always used Alias. I don't know if he still uses Alias or if he's gone over to 3D Studio Max or whatever, Maya, who knows. But, or maybe he doesn't do that stuff at all. I haven't talked to him in a while, but okay. So that's that. So this is what I thought was also kind of interesting. Is in the File New menu, you've got General, 2D Animation, Sculpting, VFX, and Video Editing. So these will be fun to play with, but right now I'm just going to do this one. And what I found was they've got it set up quite well so that you can immediately start drawing, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and draw a character just because it's fun to do so, and we like to draw, right? So let's draw. I wonder if there's some sort of, I wonder how mirroring works in Blender. Because right now, honestly, mirrored drawing is about the only reason I keep Krita on my machines. Now, I've figured out a way to do it in OpenTunes. So I'm just going to draw. So if you're bored and you don't want to watch me draw, then I wouldn't be offended if you turn the video off. Alright. So this is where since I'm not working on the anime right now, I'm kind of getting back to my roots, which is, my big influence was, as you could probably see if you're familiar, was John Buscema. Now, I have to say, however, okay, edit mode. I want edit mode but I don't want rectangle, so I'm looking around for a rectangle indicator. Bend, these are like modifiers. How do I switch it? Okay, I'm going to try to do it the old way. I'm going to hit the A key to select all. And now that's annoying. If I hit the A key twice, it doesn't deselect. I have to hit Alt A. Okay, so I suspect what I do is I hit Control Drag. Nope, it's making a rectangle. And plus, okay, so anyway, the reason I did this was I wanted to hit the S key and just move that in like that. So why? Yeah, I don't like that. I used to really like the way you'd hit the A key. Object mode. See, I don't even know what I just did. 2D animation, new object mode. Okay, so now my options to like edit and stuff have disappeared. So, and I have no idea why. So I'm going to try clicking with the right mouse. The middle mouse, probably pretty obviously does that. Control middle mouse drag still does what it used to do. But now I'm hitting the D key, and as long as I'm pressing the D key, it draws. But when I started out this scene in 2D animation mode, I didn't have to hold it down. So as we can see, everything is new. Literally everything is new. Okay, maybe not everything, but this is going to be tantamount to completely starting with a brand new program that I've never even used before. I mean, this is irritating. Now that I hit the D key and okay, I have to hold it down and I try to draw and literally nothing's happening. So why? I haven't the faintest clue. No clue why. Okay, so let's try hitting undo a few times. So we go back to before I fixed that. Let's see if it what it does now. Nope. Okay, so that's in edit mode. I'm going to just keep hitting. Okay, so we want to be in draw mode. So what I don't understand is, and it may be obvious to somebody else, and don't bother posting a comment explaining it to me. Believe me, I'm going to figure it out. I'm just moving too fast right now. But I don't know why the draw options, a moment ago all we could see was object mode. Not a clue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try clicking the, nope, that moves my, okay, that rotates. That actually moves my guys. So go back to this, control, actually I'm going to go to camera view. Okay, so I guess I need to click that and hit eraser. So we're going to do this the hard way, which is just, there you go. Which takes me back to what I was saying. I was kind of influenced by guys like Buscema and Frazetta. And I'm not even really like into this so much right now, except I just wanted to kind of see how the drawing works. And it's very fluid, very tactile. I like it. Very, very nice. So kudos to Antonio and Daniel and everybody else on the Blender team. So there's no doubt that the 3D thing and perhaps even the 2D thing is going to find its way into our workflow. So right? Why does he have these on his head? I don't know. I'm just drawing. I'm just putting stuff in. Alright. So anyway, that's that. Blender 2.8. How long will it take to get to the point where I can actually do anything useful with it? It's probably going to be a long time because basically I'm going to poke at it. If I have something that I really need to get done that involves Blender, I'll be jumping back to 2.79 without a doubt. I wonder if, let me see. Okay, 1. Okay, yeah. So it's the same here. I can hit the, and of course by flipping it, that reveals there are definitely some things in this drawing that are less than stellar. Flipping the drawing, flipping the drawing helps a lot to see goofy mistakes. I don't know why that is. We tend to see and perceive in sort of a lopsided way. And practice makes perfect. The more you draw, the less you make these little mistakes. But anyway, yeah, so I don't even know what the hotkeys are to be able to erase and stuff like that. So anyway, welcome home, Blender 2.8. We're going to be using you, no doubt about it. But for now, gone. Okay, so as long as I'm doing Blender, let me show you what I was talking about earlier. And just to make life simple, I'm going to do it with 2.79. Which we're going to have to drag down here. What I did was, let's keep this really simple. Okay, we'll do it this way. Let's create a plane. Okay, and now being in edit mode, I'm going to hit the X key and delete all the vertices. That way I can go click, 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 and it's probably pretty obvious that if you were to lathe this, this might be some kind of a leg or something, right? Okay, let's call it a leg. By the way, hey Val, do you want to see this real-time rendering in Blender 2.8? Really impressive. I upgraded my NVidia drivers. Let's do WaspBot. It's really impressive. Now these files are fairly large, so it takes a second to load up. Okay, but then once it caches all these materials, and I mean, come on, real-time rendering is just, and I mean, they got a bunch of demos that are, it's impressive. But they've changed, like the basic hotkeys are all different and stuff, so it's like whole new learning curve. Okay, so going back here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch screens. I'm going to go to here so that I can have, you know, this is kind of set up for grease pencil drawing. Alright, so what I'm going to do is let's go to the front view, and we don't want it on only render, and I think I'll turn the world background off. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the S key and take this whole thing and shrink it down a bit. Now it looks to me like I have a rogue, maybe that's just the center, I don't know. Okay, we'll select linked, L key, let's go north here. Okay, so now in the real world, if you were going to model this in 3D, you would really not want to, you really wouldn't want to lathe this, but I'm still going to, which in Blender is the screw modifier, and then we're going to do it on the y-axis. So what we're going to have to do, actually, and by the way, if you actually turned on screw, it would do this. So let's just hit 0, and now we have this. And then what we'll do is we apply the modifier. So what that did was it made it so that the actual mesh has this, the screw effect baked in. Okay, why did I do that? Okay, so I did that so that I can now just do some simple modeling. I want to check one thing, by the way. Limit the selection to the visible. I almost never want that. Okay, so now I'm going to hit Control. I'm going to drag around these guys. And I'm going to hit the S key, but I'm going to click my middle mouse button. So really what this is doing is effectively flattening it out. Okay? So again, all I'm trying to do here is create something that kind of sort of looks like it might be a leg. Now, to be just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so now if we turn to this view, we kind of have the same problem. We need to take this, push this forward. This is the calf, and we'll kind of do that. So the idea here for anime would be, what if we sort of created like a low poly model like you'd see in a simple game, and then maybe rig it up with bones, and then either just use it as a model for drawing so you can sort of figure out poses, or even put materials on it and render this stuff out, you know, maybe with the OpenGL renderer real fast, or do it, you know, more patiently with a regular render if you want to have outlines. Because for example here, I said I was going to save this too, didn't I? Let's save this. We'll call this anime rig test. Okay, so now if we go here, and let's do a few things here. Let's add a simple material, and since this is going to be some young lady's sexy leg, we'll make it flesh colored, right? Okay, and then we're going to come back here, and in the renderer post processing settings, we're going to turn on edge. Okay, and by turning on edge, what happens is we can see you going to bed. All right, nighty night. I will see you a little later. So I'm going to make this shadeless, and it looks like we can barely see the outlines. And let's turn on the world background again, and that's okay. Wow. Okay. So there was one thing. Oh yes, yes. If this was on full sample, Blender wouldn't be able to create the edges. Okay. Now I could be using freestyle. Obviously, I don't want to use freestyle. Okay. So now just to accommodate my camera, I'm going to take this whole thing and just bring it down to size and resave my work, just so I know what I'm working with. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and I think it's Control Shift. No, it's not Control Shift S. I hate this when I get into Blender and then I forget my hotkeys. So it's Shift S. Okay, Shift S. I want to take the cursor to the selected. Okay, and now as you can see from both angles, you can see the cursor. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the cursor up here. Boom. All right, and then I'm going to add an armature. And again, I'm just doing this really fast to just demonstrate how you might do it in the real world. Now I'm going to switch this to good old wireframe mode. Can't talk. All right, and then I'm going to go extrude, extrude, extrude. Hold on, let's forget that extrusion, and let's go back to the side view. Again, I'm not trying to do anything here that's actually good. I'm just trying to do something that kind of sort of looks like it might work to demonstrate stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and what do we want to do? Are we in edit mode now? Yes, we want to be in object mode. We want to parent the mesh to the armature with the Control P, and I'm going to do this the stupid way, which is with automatic weights, which is almost never what you'd want to do, but it's fast. Okay, so why did I do that? So that I can hit Control Tab and I can start editing this, and if I go into my tools, I think I need to be, yeah, oh no, I don't want x-axis mirror, I want auto IK. Okay, and now as you can see, we have something that kind of sort of approximates something that's animatable. Okay, so now let's save. Let's go ahead and save this. I'm going to turn on automatic keying, and then we're going to do a really stupidly simple animation. Okay, so let's go here, and bend this person's leg. All right, let's look at from the front view. Yeah, from the front view, that's a little problematic. We really need to have a constraint to lock the top of this. But that's okay. It's still useful for demonstration purposes. Let's go ahead and drag this back down. Sorry. Wrong key. Okay. So here we have a leg going like that, and let's just say kicking out. Okay? Fine. Let's go to the front view, and again, we could tell you what we should do is let's go to dope sheet. So we go to our next let's go to our next keyframe, and let's go ahead and enforce some a little bit of intelligence here on what we're doing. Okay, now you would never want to do this if this is like production animation, because I'm introducing so many channels into the animation that it's kind of ridiculous actually. So this is not best practice. This is actually arguably worst practice. However, in this case, it does look pretty good. If we go here, let's actually go to the side view. Same thing again. Okay, so now let's get out of the wireframe mode. And so again, this is not necessarily actually, if I was really going to do this, I probably would even have less resolution in this model. In other words, I would want this model to have as little resolution as possible, because the likelihood is once I've rigged it up, I'm going to go and add a subdivision surface modifier to sort of smooth things out. So here we have our anime girl's sexy leg, ostensibly, and you can see it doing its little kick. So the thing I mentioned in the last video that I thought looked pretty cool, let me just kind of do it this way. I'll hit the shift key. Oh, I guess I got to hit Control Shift on this machine is the way I've got the hotkeys set up. Okay, now I'm going to hit Alt A, and you can see the keyframing is very natural. It's generating animation information at a full 24 frames a second. So my idea for anime was, well, what if we just go right here and let's say we go every 3 and just insert a keyframe on all channels. Just insert keyframes. Let's just go wherever we want, and we'll take these ones and move them downstream a little bit. Okay, so nothing looks any different because all we did was insert keyframes where there was already animation data telling the leg how to move. Okay? Now there's one more thing I'm going to do. I'm going to complicate things. I'm going to say, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. See that? See how ugly and stupid that looks? So what we're going to do is we're going to go into edit mode. But first, over here in the modifiers, we need to look at this. We need to be able to see the modifier even in edit mode. Okay. Now I think we might have, okay, yeah, that works. I need to go into wireframe mode. Okay, and what I'm wondering here is, okay, yeah, there's some definite weirdness associated with what I'm trying to do. Maybe it's the subdivision surface. So I'm going to say, let's apply that, and that works. Okay, so now what I want to do, again, this is not best practice, but for this quick and dirty animation, it should work okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the animation tab, which has Animal installed in my version of Blender, and I'm going to click points, and I'm going to click insert. So I just inserted a keyframe so that all the points of this leg are keyed. So Blender knows from an animation standpoint where all the points in this mesh are. That means when I go here, I can go right in here, grab these, and I think what I want to do is hit Control, just grab this cluster, and let me check something here. Yeah. Okay. So I want to squeeze those in, and I want to scale these on the Z-axis. Okay, so again, we're struggling a bit because this already has animation baked into it. But actually, this isn't working too badly. So I'm going to hit the Insert key, and actually, let's make this effect even more obvious. Let's go ahead and stretch these right here. So the idea being that if you bend your leg up like this, that obviously the muscles contract, right? So we'll insert this, and now what we should see is that when we go back here, those keys disappear. Now, because it was kind of a subtle motion, I'm not actually sure that they did disappear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and squeeze this in a bit. Hit the Insert key. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Size that baby down just a little bit, hit Insert. So again, I cannot emphasize enough how this is not the way you want to do it. You really want to plan your rigs more carefully than I'm doing. But what I did, what makes this interesting, okay, so now we have the secondary animation not quite right. Not quite right. So I'm going to hit the A key. It does not look to me like that is compensating properly. So maybe something's wrong. Let's find out. What I want to do is hit Control and lasso this. Sorry. Hitting the A key. I want to make sure I only grab the ones I'm interested in. And I'm going to shrink these guys down. And now I want to insert points. So the question is, yeah, that seemed to have worked, but we seem to have lost this one. So I'm not really sure why that is, to tell you the truth. I'm not using shape keys, I'm just animating the points. And as far as I can tell, oh, I know what it is. I got to get back out of edit mode. Yep, there it is. Okay, sorry about that. I forgot that when you're in edit mode, the animated keys don't really show up. So now we can see a little bit of a problem. I know I'm sort of splitting hairs here in the interest of winding up with something that doesn't look completely stupid. I'm going to hit the O key. Go. Yeah, there we go. That I should have had that on all along. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and insert points. Hit the tab. Okay, so there's our girly leg. Obviously, I appreciate a muscular female leg. I mean, if you're a red-blooded American male or even a red-blooded non-American male, you probably appreciate a muscular, sexy, girly leg. So there it is. Okay, so now what I wanted to point out is I've got this animation in here. So that's on 2s. So let's go ahead and insert a key here on all channels. Let's move that one downstream so that we can insert another one here on all channels. We'll move this one downstream so that now everything's on 2s. It doesn't look any different though, because all we did was add keys where the animation data was already decided by the interpolation. Now here's the key. I put my mouse over this, I select all the keys, and in one swoop I change all of the interpolation to constant. And now it's going to jump from one shape to the other. And see how it's jerky now? it's jerky like an anime. Isn't that sweet? So, and that was kind of the whole point of this whole exercise. But now the question is, if I've got to properly animate Akari kicking someone, which, by the way, I almost certainly will, because the next thing coming up in the show is a fight scene. So would it be helpful to have a fully rigged anime character in 3D? Maybe render this. Let's see, we hit Control 10, F10, or yeah, Control F10. And right error. It's trying to save it on an X drive that doesn't exist anymore. So I'm not going to worry about that because this is all going to play back in real time just fine. So let's go here, and we made this shadeless. Oh, I know. We want this to be either texture, material, or rendered. Okay. Let's go material. Now, if you believe this, believe it or not, if I wanted this to look like, this will be my last tip for the day. What if I wanted this to render with toon outlines, but I don't want to have to actually do a proper render, so you can see there's a post-production toon outline on this. Is there a way to do it without having to actually do a proper render? There is. It's a total kludge, and what you do is you go into the user preferences and change the outline color for the active object or selected. Change it to black. Black. And I'm going to move this up and out, and I think, did that work? Maybe that didn't work. Texture, material. Okay, there it is. Only render. Okay, doesn't give me the outlines. Well, anyway, you can see what I was talking about. So it's a bit of a tricky kludge. Everything that's selected now magically has an outline around it. I suppose if you're at the point where you've generated some animation that you're actually going to want to use for something, probably you will have no problem taking the time to render it properly. So anyway, that, as I said, that was a bit of a kludge. But anyway, okay, so now oh my gosh, it's been 42 minutes. So we've been blendering quite a bit today. We're not really doing too much OpenToon stuff. But I will say, frankly, this leg came out pretty well, and I may actually use it for my proper rig. So I think that's it for now. We'll get back to OpenToons because I have real work to do. But between Blender 2.79 and Blender 2.8, I'm thinking there's some definite room for some 3D to help us make our 2D even better. I hope you agree. We will see you soon.